Tesla facing yet another legal allegation of racism. A black former military contractor now suing the electric car maker, claiming he was tormented by white co-workers. KPX5's Kiet Do is in Fremont with that story.
We have covered a fair number of these racial discrimination lawsuits against Tesla, and what makes this one stand out in particular is how they treated a black coworker who was severely injured while working in Afghanistan. Before he was a quality control project manager at Tesla, Mark Cage, who is African American, worked as a defense contractor in an active combat zone in Afghanistan. 2 explosions and separate incidents left him severely injured. This is the alarm that you typically hear during a rocket attack. One day, a coworker's phone went off with a ringtone similar to that alarm, and it triggered Cage's PTSD.
He went to the employee discreetly and calmly and politely asked that coworker if he could please change his ringtone, and explained why. Instead of doing the civil and appropriate thing, that coworker not only increased the volume on his phone to make it more obnoxious, but told other coworkers about it so that they could change their ringtones too, in order to essentially harass Mr. Cage.
According to the lawsuit, a superintendent sarcastically told Mr. Cage to get over it because he needed to face his fears. As for the alleged racism, Cage saw swastikas and prominent displays of the N-word at the Fremont plant. In one instance, he was called a boy, and when he filed an expense report for groceries, his manager wrote, "This is $160 for barbecue?"
He's got to deal with people making crude jokes about race, mocking his PTSD that he suffered as a result of his time in Afghanistan, and so he can't do his job.
About that job, in the lawsuit, he documented construction and code violations that were reported to managers but later ignored. In particular, this email talks about a welding repair of a high-pressure system that did not follow proper procedure.
That can become a ticking time bomb. You can have this weld on a pressure tank, and 5 years from now, 10 years from now, you've got 100 workers around in a factory, that weld gives out, and a tank explodes, and you have massive injury and fatality, which is why what Mr. Cage was trying to do was so important.
The lawsuit alleges Cage was relocated, stripped of his responsibilities, demoted, and eventually fired.
If someone is so inclined to do racist things and be racist, there is no line that they are unwilling to cross.
San Jose State professor Sean Fletcher is an expert on race and diversity and says consumers should not forget they have the final say.
So at a certain point, we have to look within ourselves and say, if I continue to spend my money with the brand that continues to run afoul of my personal convictions, what message am I sending? So at a certain point, of course, our internal compass has to supersede our consumerism of a brand like Tesla.
Tesla did not respond to a request for comment. Kiet Do, KPIX5.